Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Yak About a Yak. Today I'm going to demonstrate what happens if you try to flip a sit-in kayak. So, unlike a sit-on-top kayak, if a sit-in kayak flips, the bulk of it is going to fill up with water. So what happens? You have to figure out a way to be able to lift it up out of the water. The likelihood is I'm not going to be able to do that when I'm in the deep end. I'm going to have to move it into shallower water. So, if you're leaning over, grabbing a rod beside you, you see what happens? You start taking on water. Okay, so let's say you have some rods behind you, you lean over, you start taking on water. Here we go. So we flip the kayak. Now what? As long as there's not too much water in the kayak, I might be able to go right underneath it and lift it up out of the water.
Take a deep breath, and once under the kayak, you may luck out with an air pocket if the hull of the kayak hasn't filled completely.
There we go. So we're in deep water. Was able to flip it right over. Now, of course, inside here is filled with water. So this is when you're going to want your pump and start pumping to take out all that water.
Now, essentially with a sit-in kayak, you can either re-enter by maneuvering yourself over the stern or from over the bow. Because I have modified the back end of my kayak and I have bolts protruding through the stern, I figured it was easiest to try an entry by pulling myself up over the bow.
Here we go. Ah. Nope. So that's not a good idea. Gotta flip it over again.
What I quickly realized after the second flip was that there was a much smaller air pocket in the hull, and hence a lot more water. This made it difficult to get the thrust I needed in my legs to lift and flip it back over. So the kayak basically just rolled through the water and filled up the hull completely, rather than draining out when trying to lift it up.
So you see, the hull is pretty much filled up. About the only way to fully get all that water out is by moving it into a shallow area. So now that I'm in a shallow area, I can flip her right over, pick it up, let the air get in underneath it. Now when you try for a re-entry with a lot less water, it'll be a lot easier to do. Let's try a re-entry over the bow. So now that I'm back in the kayak, although it does have a lot of water in it, with your pump, you can get all the water out. Notice how unstable the kayak is now at this point, guys. So if you're loaded up with all kinds of fishing gear, especially a battery box, you're pretty sure that you're going to lose some components. They're going to sink. But what's more important, your life or your kayak goods? So always be safe. Now, of course, I'm in a pool. I'm in a safe condition, so I'm not wearing a PFD. Always wear your PFD while you're out on the water. with minimal amount of water left in the sitting area, you should be able to flip it. If you do it quickly out in deep water, you might be able to flip it back like I did in the beginning, but otherwise, when you get it into shallow area, you can lift it up, drain a majority of the water, and then try for a re-entry again. So there we go, guys. How to do a re-entry in a sit-in kayak. Try to lift it up out of the water if you're in deeper water as fast as you can to prevent a lot of water from getting in. Try a bow entry, maybe a stern. Bow would probably work better as it did before. If it takes on too much water, bring it into shallow area. That way you can lift it right up out of the water, drain the water that's inside, and jump back in. So hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm your host, Black Sparrow. Till next time, take care. If you're gonna go big.